Hello, everybody. This is Frogman. Welcome back to Serious Engineering. Last episode, we got our pressure chamber up and running from Pneumatic Craft. We got a couple of little junky little coal-fired compressors going, and we have the ability to do a little bit of advancement now towards getting some more fun stuff with another mod that has got a little bit more technology. I've been kind of playing in the test world for a little while, just making sure we're going to be able to actually get this system to work. So what we're going to do next now that we have this ability is we need to go find oil, in which we should say I've already found oil, so that we can start working through the plastic process that is in pneumatic craft so we can build the basic parts and functions. So this was the first chunk I scanned. This was the second chunk I scanned, and we got 6,000 buckets of oil in that chunk. So I was like, okay, well, let's do a real quick look around just to see what's available. And I scanned these guys, and we ended up with about 3,000 buckets of oil and almost 8,000 buckets of oil. So we've got a bit of oil to play with. The process with pneumatic craft to make plastic is a kind of a long, drawn out, fun time that starts with digging up oil. So I think since we have our power right here, even though we're not going to have a whole lot of power, I'm going to build the pump jack right here in this chunk. So let's make sure we have our chunk borders open, mainly because the power is right here. So the first thing we need to do to get started with this is, of course, we need to dig up some oil. And in order to dig up some oil, we are going to need a pump jack from the immersive petroleum portion of immersive engineering, the mod that's the add-on. So pump jack, pretty simple. It's just a whole bunch of little parts pieces that I've already set down and pre-crafted. So we're going to go ahead and build it. And I'm going to use the projector this time so that I can actually make a sense of what we're doing here. Projector, I don't know why this is not included in the base mod. It is so handy. So basically what happens is if you hold it in your inventory down here, or if you put it in that slot right there, it will project all of the blocks that you need in order to be able to make the thing. So what we need to do is we need to just put the blocks down in order that they are required. So it shouldn't take very long. It's not a humongous structure. Toot there. And then once you get the first level done, it does this. By moving up, it moves the projection automatically upwards. So that is that, and that should be one of those. That goes right there. Two more fence posts, and I happen to know that there are two more right there. Like that. And then the fun part is trying to get that block placed floating in the air. So I usually just stick down a placement block. Where is my pickaxe? I don't know what happened to that. Okay. And then we have sheet metal blocks that belong up here. Get me up there, please. Doot, 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 and then one more steel block. And when you complete it, it's kind of hard to tell because I have chunk borders on. There we go. When you complete it, you have the green box that says you're happy. So go away, chunk borders. Where did I put my hammer? Let's see. There is my hammer. My bags are getting a little full, and I believe this one, you click on it right there. Okay, cool. Now, as you notice, we got this red bounding box that says, hey, there's still something going on here. If you take this and shift it on the ground, or do the, shift right click it on the ground, then it's going to remove the red box and not worry about it. So that is our pump jack. This is what we're going to use to pull oil out of the ground so that we can start doing things with pneumatic craft. For now, I am just going to have it pump right into the singularity tank because the singularity tank holds 32 buckets. And we're going to go ahead and put on an MV wire connector, and look at me, I have another projector. Great. I thought I'd made one, I just couldn't find it until I start looking for it, but okay. Let's see. Connector, and I think that will be reasonably high enough to not hurt myself. And that should start pumping oil out of the ground right there. Very good. Okay. Cool. This thing uses about 1,000 RF a tick, I believe. I think. Let's see. Does it even say? Yeah, about 1,024 RF a tick to move oil out at about 15 millibuckets a tick. So we're going to use pretty much whatever's in that poor HV capacitor, which I may go ahead and take the other HV capacitor that I should have in my inventory somewhere. Where did I put? Oh, I remember it's in here. We're going to just go ahead and let that run. We're just going to let it fill this tank up, because once it fills this tank up, this is technically going to stop running because it doesn't have a place to put any of the oil. So I believe if we reach in here, it says the average oil deposit will take about 11 days to deplete, although adding more pump jacks can speed up the process. The pump jack can be shut off by either doing the old right click with the engineer's hammer right there, or using a lever on it to get it to stop. So while that's working, we're going to go into the base and take a nap and work on the next part, which is going to be building a refinery. Okay, so that's step number 1 to make plastic. So if we look back down this line now that we're looking at this, plastic from Pneumaticraft comes from a plastic or a liquid plastic that we craft in a thermopneumatic processing plant that we get from crafting or processing LPG. And LPG comes from a refinery, in any one of a number of different forms. We're going to build the big refinery, the one that makes all 4 of the chemicals, because this one is the one that does the best when it comes to making things that we can reprocess later into stuff. So like we've got 2 millibuckets there and 4 millibuckets here, and on this one, this is a 3 tall one. We get 2 millibuckets here, 3 millibuckets there, and 2 millibuckets here. And in this one, we get 2, 3, 3, and 2. So we get a little bit more material out of the big one. You don't have to make the big one. You don't have to. You can make the regular just 1 tall, I believe it's 1 tall or 2 tall refinery, but you're not going to do as well with your oil as you can. Now, the big problem with refining oil is that now we're starting into another thing in Pneumaticraft. Pneumaticraft is all about air pressure and heat or cool or temperature differentials. So this is some of the fun stuff that is part of this mod that at times becomes very, very painful if you don't know how to make some of it work. So I'm going to try to do as good a job as I can to try to explain it. But the first thing we're going to build is 4 of these guys. So I need glass, regular glass, not pane glass. Glass, don't need all of you, thank you. So we want 4 refineries. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you for all of that wonderfulness. And we can put the diamonds back. And there's another thing, I don't know whether it's part of this mod pack or something else, but they finally put an in-game manual in, which is going to be very, very handy for those of you that don't know what's going on, and it's even reminded me of a few things that I haven't played with. So like crop supports, where you can actually grow your crops quicker than normally, and of course the number for the spawner agitator, and heat frames, which you can apply heat frames to a furnace and smelt things for free as long as you supply it enough heat. So we'll worry about all those later. We're going to have plenty of fun with those as the time comes. So let's put those away, and the fluid pipe, I'm going to hang on to some of you, and I actually should look. I do have a couple. How much does the iron pipe take to make? We need some of it. Iron pipe is just a couple of plates and some iron. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and some, is it just regular glass again? It is. So iron, make a few of those for me, please. Why are they double iron plates? I don't remember that. Maybe I do and I just don't. Okay, that's in here. Go ahead, click the button on that one. We're going to get some more. I just want to make sure we have enough fluid moving capabilities, because something about what I do remember with this mod is that I remember that cool little thing. If I can get this to go, and maybe it's just me for as long as it's been. Double iron plates. Double iron plates. Oh, it's got to put 2 of them down. I know better than to do that. Let's see. Can I get up here so that this gets dropped off? That's got to go like that. Okay. Is that the transfer gadget, which is kind of like a flat transfer node? I remember very much that this was working with fluids, but I couldn't get it to work with fluids in my test world. We may try it again because it says it will transfer at 100 millibuckets of fluid every 2 seconds, which is not awesome, but for the amount of stuff that we're planning on transferring, it's a definite handy thing. But I was playing with it in a test world and it was not wanting to work. So let's go do this. Make us a little bit of pipe. Cool. All right, so that should be plenty of pipe to last us a while. Good deal. For right now, I'm not really concerned about it because we're just going to be pumping things out of one tank into another. So we just need to kind of keep things moving along nicely. Okay. So, on to that part, we have the refineries that we need. We also need to be able to start playing with a thing. And this is basically right here. It is used, does it say in here where it is? Let's grab this little cute little manual out and we can look at the refineries. Compressors, not for compressors. Where are we? Tubes, machines, air cannons, all kinds of wonderful things. Is this in here or is it in oil? Have I not opened this up? Where is it? That one, right here. We can use this seismic sensor. I don't believe we have anything other than the regular immersive engineering stuff in here in this pack. So anyhow, we can normally pick up. Well, we'll just continue on to the moving of this. The refinery is capable of handling all of the things. Why can't I unlock it? Whatever. Refineries require heat to function. And in order to make a refinery work reasonably well, you have to make heat in it at a reasonable pace. So what we need, or the quickest way to do it at this point, now that we have a little bit of capability, is to make vortex cubes, or vortex tubes. Vortex tubes basically take air pressure and move air pressure, splitting it in half to one side base. Well, blah, 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 blah. What do we need? We need pipe. We'll talk about it as we build. We need some more pipe. Vortex tubes basically move pressure through them and change one side of the vortex tube into a hot side and one side of the vortex into a cold side. So if we read right here, it says basically split air into hot and cold components. One side is heated, one side is cooled, which is a similar way of how things can work in real life, because if you blow air through a vortex or a venturi, one side will end up dropping pressure and also dropping temperature as you blow the air through the venturi. It's how a carburetor on a car works, for that matter. So we've got some of this stuff here. Well, one of the things that a carburetor does anyway. So now that we have our vortex tube, we also need one of these heat sinks that I believe I have. We do. Okay, and we want to build 2 more compressors. So we need a couple of those. I need some more cobblestone. Cobblestone. Compressor. Get do 1, 2. 2 should do what we need to do. And we have 3 pressure tubes left. How much of a pain is it to make some more of those? Not much. All right. Put some of this extra stuff away. And we should be able to do some things with this. I do want at least one of these for right now. I also want a glass trapdoor, or 2, or 4 for that matter. What do these take to make? They're just panes. We have plenty of panes. 12 will do fine. And I would also like some kind of random decent looking building block for the moment. Doesn't even matter, doesn't have to be anything fancy. What do we have? Where are all my factory blocks? We'll just use some of those for right now. Actually, I need a little bit more than that. So we have all of our stuff. We've got a whole bunch of things I don't need. Let's go ahead and put these back in here. And the glass can go back in that one. And you guys are probably wondering, what in the hell is he talking about? Why do we need all this stuff to make plastic? Well, we're not necessarily needing all this stuff to make plastic. What we're needing it for is to be able to make the various materials that you're going to get out of oil into other things. So for right now, I think we'll just set it up out here because we're going to end up making a bunch of mess anyway. The first thing I want to do is I am going to flat out cheese this like always. Torch. And then I'm going to put down that block of compressed iron, and I'm going to put down my vortex tube facing away from me so that the hot side, you saw it right real quick, right? The hot side is right there facing against that block. We're going to put a heat sink on the back of this vortex, and we're going to go ahead and make a little bit of space right here for these guys. And knowing me, I forgot some fuel, and I also think I want to get a couple of chimneys at least for the minute. Do I have any chimneys? I do have a couple. I just don't want that stuff blowing in my face. Fuel. Fuel. I don't know why I didn't just grab a couple of stacks of it, because this is going to take a while. And we're going to run this over here, and we're going to go ahead and just pump those things up and get them going. And put a couple of chimneys on it just to get the particles out of our faces for now. Okay, cool. So that should be warming that block up, as we can see. We're going to slowly use air pressure out of these two guys right here, these two compressors, and they're going to pump air into this vortex tube, which is basically moving hot air that way and cold air that way, which I guess is how they think the mod works. It's not how real life works, but you usually pump the heat out of something into something else. So, however, what that's going to do is it's going to make that block very hot eventually. It's going to take it a little while. Now, there are many methods and ways of heating things. That's why I put a torch down here, because a torch is actually a way of heating something, even though it doesn't do it very efficiently. And I guess, since we're about to have to sleep again, let's let that warm up and sleep. Okay, cool. So we're at 84 degrees. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and stack all of these, hopefully the same way. There we go, cool. Hopefully the same way. And if we look in here, we now have a GUI that has 4 different slots and a temperature gauge. Sorry about that. Where were we? I had phone call. Had to... I know that some of you people probably know, but we've been dealing with a car accident for a little while, and we finally got to pick the car up, and that was my insurance agent. So we're going to be playing with this problem for a little bit too. So anyhow, now that we've got this set up, we're going to slowly be gaining temperature in this refinery, but as you notice, it's not doing really well. Things don't look like they're heating up. Things are kind of slow. Things are kind of not working. What I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to place some things on the outside of this refinery to try to cover up some of its faces. So there's 4 faces, and we should start to notice that the temperature is going to start going up. We're also going to cover that block and all of the sides and the top and the back and the rest of that block. Now, I know it looks kind of pretty and kind of funky, but as we watch this, we should notice that the temperature is drastically rising inside that refinery right now. And that is something that is also a very interesting thing. If we read over here while we're playing around with this, let me break that block right there. We're going to have a thing over here where it says problems, no input fluid. We know that. We haven't put any fluid in it yet. We're going to be putting the fluid in on this side right there. Probably. How did I do that? There we go. Okay. And if you see right here, it says 1 of 24 block faces are exposed to the air, which wastes heat. Ensure no neighboring blocks are air blocks to insulate the machine for better performance. So, when you're playing with anything in this mod that requires heat, meaning it's transmitting heat, losing heat, messing around with heat, anything that has to do with heat is in this mod. The best option for it, especially with a refinery and especially with the processors that we're going to be building here shortly, and I'm making an absolute mess everywhere because, pollution. You want to make sure you cover them up so that the machine itself cannot lose heat. We're already over 340 degrees Celsius at this point, so we're going to have to actually probably start processing things here pretty quickly, or else we're going to blow up most of this. But if you notice, we're only running about 2 bar right now. which is pretty stinking good considering the fact that this vortex tube can handle quite a bit. So we're actually making almost 400, 500. I think 500 is the max for the 400. It doesn't really matter. The more temperature you put in this thing, the faster it runs. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our little bitty iron pipe. That almost looked like a creeper for a second there, cow. And we're going to run it into the bottom block right there of that refinery. Now, anytime you do a connection like this, it is also a valid connection. It's okay. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That block is technically covering that face. And as we see, we have no problems other than no fluids. So now we turn on the oil. And we should see smoke come out of the top of the refinery. Good. And we are now producing the various materials that we need. And as you watch, the temperature is going to come down because it's now functioning. Now, I did test this in my test world, or at least this setup. And, you know, every world is different for various things. But as long as that manages to stay about 1.6 or 1.7 or anywhere between 1.5 and 1.7 bar, which both of these compressors should be able to manage, this thing will stay hot enough to continuously run. So it's going to settle down about right here. And all we need to do is be able to keep it at 100 degrees Celsius, which it's going to be a little slow because we're not keeping it at max temperature yet, but we will get there and we will start making it run a lot faster. So this kind of introduces a problem when it comes to dealing with these things because you have to kind of build them in such a fashion that you have to do, you basically have to make sure all of the sides are covered if you're not using them. Now, there's a reason why I use this block right here, that compressed iron block that's sitting right there. Actually, we can look at him right here. There's a reason why I use that is because this is a heat storage device kind of thing. Iron blocks, or the compressed iron blocks, can store heat. So it allows me to kind of be able to transfer the heat and keep the heat up. So if I do accidentally run out of power in this thing, or coal, or any of this other stuff, we can manage to keep some of the process running and be processing materials. I was afraid you were going to be backwards, and I don't know why they do that. Let's see. Can we make the wrench finally? Probably not. I don't even know if I can fathom the wrench. Air compressor canister, compressors. We might be able to. On the backs of these are actually, they have little gauges on them, and if you look at it, it shows the levels in these. Normally the levels would be there, but for some odd reason they place backwards when you put them down. So anyhow, let's look at the next thing we need to be looking at for right now, which is the thermo-pneumatic processing plant, which is just another thing that we're going to have to build that is going to allow us to produce or process some of that material that we just got. So let's grab that. You need 2 more pieces of glass. We're going to end up making 4 of these eventually, but for right now I'm going to make 2, maybe 2. I don't know. Click the button. Thank you. I think we'll start with 1. Thank you. Yeah, no kidding. Try saying that 3 times fast. And what we can do with this one here is this one requires heat and pressure to run. It requires both of them, and it also requires quite a bit of temperature. We're going to need to get that over, I think it's clear up way up here in order to be able to make this work. So this one is actually going to have to be part of its own separate system once we get to that point. But just to kind of illustrate what's going on, do I have enough in one of these to get some? What I want to do immediately, if I can get any, is get some of... I'm going to have to pump it out, aren't I? Okay. Let's pump some of that out. Let's get us a tank. I wonder if I have any spares. I probably don't. Where are those really cheap tanks? Tank. I use that for that part. That one right here was just an iron mechanical block and some gold. Glass. Click. And do this. Thank you. You have to be careful with these. They don't hold their contents when you break them. And as we see, they're just kind of hanging out right there. They're not really doing anything. That's because of the fact that it just about that much pressure makes just about that much heat. And once we can get some speed upgrades and some volume upgrades and some better upgrades, things get much better. So I want to access the top of this refinery right here, and I don't know if this is going to pump into the side of that. It may. Yes, good, cool. And I want that beautiful LPG. And that LPG, if we take it, I don't know if I can get a bucket of it yet. I can't. Okay. We need to get a little bit of coal. Let's just grab that much coal. That's plenty. Run back out over here. I think we might just make this building like that way right around the side of this thing. That wouldn't be too bad. And we're going to toss this in here. And this is a totally, completely temporary system because we need to be able to process some of this plastic in order to go anywhere. But if I put LPG in here with some coal and we get the temperature above 100, which I think is, 100 C is where we need to be. And I'm going to have to sleep again because it's midnight. Okay, now, so we should be able to get up to above it. Yeah, all right, there we go. So we're now at temperature of 100 C, and we're now making liquid plastic out of that LPG. So I can actually, for the moment, kind of down and dirty this way into the top of that, just so that we can kind of run this for a little while. These guys are going to slowly... Oh, I guess I can rotate it like that. Very nice. Okay, cool. I was thinking I needed to make the wrench, but I guess I didn't. Now we can see the thing. The problem is going to be that in order to take this stuff here, these different various other fluids that we're getting, like the diesel, the kerosene, and the gasoline, in order to do anything with, say, kerosene, you can either burn kerosene in a lamp or you can crack it like we do in Factorio into the lighter fluid and then run it on through. But the problem is it requires 300 degrees Celsius and 2 bar on the pressure gauge in order to be able to process in this plant. But so far we've made 12 buckets, which is awesome. I think I might just grab that tank for that matter then and put you on like this. And I got to remember that tank is not the thing to be moving around. Can we get to this other side over here? This, like I said, complete total jankiness. We're going to have to do this a lot better. This is just getting through to the beginning of the next step, which is going to be getting us plastic so we can build some better compression and some better, overall better stuff for this mod. So the next thing we need, and I'm hoping to get through this today, which we should be able to, is a plastic mixer. Plastic mixer, pretty simple, pretty easy. Let's go get one. Should have made one already, but no big deal. Plastic mixer is going to be one of those. And we can definitely put a lot of this away now. And I think I took all the glass, so we got to put the glass away. Okay. And again, for now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just utilize this tank because I want that thing to produce as much plastic as we could get, which we've already got a lot. That's awesome. You can do this. You can do that. Pretty gray fluids. Very cool. I know this is going to get stupidly ugly because I need to put this plastic mixer right here. Oh, don't connect. No, thank you. Okay, I don't even know if anything can go in there other than plastic. All right, again, this requires a little bit of temperature to function, but not a whole lot. So I guess we're going to run this around the back. I'm glad I made a whole bunch of pipe. Thank you. You can go in there. Nice pipe wire mess. Wonderful stuff. And we now have a whole bunch of plastic, liquid plastic in the thing, and we now need to be able to make some dyes. And in order to be able to make plastic, you have to dye it. You have to have three different types of dyes. Three. So I've got some green dye, I've got a little bit of lapis lazuli, and I don't even know if I have any red at... I have lots of red. Never mind. I've got lots of red. Where is my bone meal? Bone meal's right. I thought it was right here. There it is. Okay. Give me some of that. We can make some red dye. No big deal. And I know it's kind of a convoluted way of doing it, but that's how we're going to do it. Thank you. Perfect. And you put your dyes in the slots. As you see, that kind of uses them up just a little bit. So the first major piece of plastic that we're going to work towards at this point, and we're going to do this to end the episode, is we need to start looking at how to craft or build the automated arms in pneumatic crafts. So PNU, we need to be able to build these guys right here so that we can start doing some of the other processes. And these guys are going to require printed circuit boards. They're going to require a blue plastic. I believe they're going to require, we're actually going to need to require gray plastic here pretty soon, actually. So I think let's start with the gray and red plastic, because I want one of these right here. So we need gray plastic. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gray plastic and 4 regular red plastics. So you select the selection and it puts it right there. So 2, 3, 4, and gray. It was gray or light gray? Gray or light gray? Gray, 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 gray. Okay, I just want to make sure I don't have a lot. Gray, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. And I highly recommend you start with this thing. Actually, the charging station is probably another thing we need for. How much is a charging station? It does not require any plastic. Cool. So, an Amadron tablet. We need a air canister, so I need a bunch of redstone again. I love it. I have poppies on me. Funny. Grab some of that compressed iron that we are slowly chewing through. So let's go ahead and get this guy built. So that's an air canister, which those things basically just store air. They're pretty awesome. And we need a GPS tool, which requires a glass pane, a diamond, redstone torch. Maybe we have, good deal, one of those. And we will be using GPS tools eventually as well. So GPS tool. And finally, an Amadron tablet. Hello, thank you, sir. Yes, you are correct. It is better than villagers. All right, can I get this charging? We can get it charging. 1, 2, 3, plus a pipe. So this requires a charging station to actually function. But we'll go ahead and hook it right here. Put that in there. And it should be filling that thing up ever so slowly with air pressure. And once that thing gets filled up reasonably decently with air pressure, we'll be able to utilize it and do things with it. So I am going to grab some coal and stick it in these little bitty air compressors over here and fill my brand new shiny toy up. And I am going to go ahead and continue in between episodes and kind of play with getting some more plastics going. But what this is going to allow us to do is advance through some of the higher tiers that we needed, and it's probably the first major use of plastic that you should be looking at making when you do it. So, I guess, guys, that's going to do it for us right now. I think I'm going to go ahead and just do that, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Bye.